Hey everybody, Muddy Al Capone's here, and welcome back to our Minecraft 1.15 Let's Play. It's been a little while since I've uploaded a video. Won't give you all the gory details, but I had a pretty bad back injury that I took a few weeks to recover from. So I'm glad to be back into the Minecraft world, and hopefully we don't have any more delays like that going forward into the future. I'm feeling better, thanks for asking. Actually, in the time that I have been away, we have had the release of the 1.16 update. 1.16 is the Nether update. We haven't been to the Nether yet in this world. I was waiting until that update came out so that we'd be able to explore our Nether at its spawn point with the new Nether generation. I haven't upgraded this world yet. I'm still waiting on the newest release of Optifine to come out so that I can zoom and have the good lighting and all the things like that. I wasn't planning on going to the Nether within the next few episodes, so I didn't see any point in upgrading just yet. There are some new items in the overworld that we'll look at once we get that update out, but until that happens, it didn't seem to be a huge rush. So what I'm going to work on today is lots of different types of farms. We still don't have a really good food generation going on for this world yet, and I just think it fits with the overall aesthetic. So what I'm going to do is get a wheat farm going, get a pumpkin patch going, and then hopefully I can find one more sheep and then 2 cows so that I can get this guy a friend and get him in a pen and get a set of cows as well, so we can start getting leather and beef and different colors of wool and all those good things. So, a few things in between this episode and last episode. I added a little dock over here in front of our house that we ran past earlier. It's just a functional dock, just a place to put our boat. Nothing too impressive. And then I also added a bridge up here. It's the same design style as the 2 bridges we built a few episodes ago. One of the things that I'm going to start doing in this world is once I have built a thing, somewhere in the world, so in this case the 2 bridges we had over there, I'm not necessarily going to show it on camera if I do something similar elsewhere in the world. So you can see I've built out some more paths, added some lanterns, added this bridge, and since that's something we'd already seen me do on camera, I didn't really feel the need to include that in an episode. So we might see more of that type of thing going forward. And also some decorative touches. So down here we have some cobblestone little half walls. And then over by our supply area, I just put some barrels and added a little crafting bench setup. Things like that just really give the world a little more character. I'll be adding things like that in as I think of them. And it might not necessarily be on camera. We'll save the videos for some of the larger builds. And of course, at this stage in the game, we're not necessarily talking about things that are crazy big, just things that are new or interesting or different that we haven't really done yet. So down here, we have our current farm situation. I have harvested a few, I think 2 or 3 at this point, cycles of wheat growing and then being replanted. Same with the pumpkins. I think this area is where I'm going to put the pumpkin patch, but we'll get to that second. The first thing I want to do is build a wheat farm. And to do that, I think what I want to do is use these terraced ledges right here to give some verticality to our wheat farm. So obviously I could just get a big flat square and put the wheat farm there, but I find that a little boring, and we've got this nice terrain here that has these kind of wider ledges, and I think this would be a good place to have kind of just a hill of wheat. I'd gone through here in between episodes and also cleared out some of the trees just to take a closer look at it, and I do think I like the way it looks. So what we're going to do is we've got our hoe here, and I'm going to see what I want to do is hide the water sources kind of underneath the ledges here. So I want to see if I can get to the edge of this with tilled soil. So we will kind of see it there, but it's just peeking out just a little bit. It doesn't bother me too much. So you can go up to, I want to say 4 blocks away. It might be 5. Let me try 5 and see if that goes away. It's 4 or 5. in all directions from a water source block. And I don't know if water goes up in terms of making the soil fertile. If it does, then we don't have a problem there because I can just put the next source under these and it'll protect those as well. Yeah, let's see. It looks like those are staying put, so I guess we'll see if they fill in with the darker soil. But at the very least, 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. These should all definitely be covered by that one. Then we're going to do the same thing. I guess I could do that over here, actually. I don't need to go quite so far out. We'll grab some water down by the stream. And I won't do all this on camera. I actually want to do a lot today in terms of different farms, so I won't show every single second on camera. I'll just give a rough outline of what I'm doing, and then come back at various points in the process. So if we do something like this... Oh, and these went away. So it doesn't go that far. So now what I want to see is, if I say, put a water source there, and I recognize this is painfully slow because I have to keep going back for each bucket of water. But what I just want to test out is, will the water moisten the soil above it as well? So if I do that, are these ones going to soak in? And if they don't, that's okay. What I'll do is I'll just pull this shelf in a bit. Yeah, no, it didn't go. So it only goes for ones on the same level, and that's okay. So let me get that water source back. And we're just going to go one further in with it, or two further in. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4. And this one, oop, that is the wrong thing. So this one's going to go right to the edge, that's not a problem. Then we go 1, 2, 3, 4. Oop. Those hose do not last long. Let's make ourselves an iron hoe. And yeah, this is going to be kind of like a mid-sized farm. It's obviously going to be bigger than our little wheat patch over there, but it's not going to be anything huge. It's sort of like this is the level of farm that'll have no trouble sustaining our cow pasture or anything like that, which is good. So 1, 2, 3, 4. I'll take those away. And this one only comes out. If I put a water source there, some of this is just going to be kind of guesstimation, which is okay as well. So this is 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 1, 2, 3, 4. This should get those, and then this one here will destroy. Yeah, so I'm going to do this terrace here, the one above it, and then the two below it. Kind of, not all the way to the edge, but just kind of the 4 tiers. So let me go ahead and repeat this process that I've just done here with the water buckets on all 4 of these tiers. And once the soil is tilled, I'll come back onto the camera and show some planting. Alright, so that definitely took longer than I thought it was going to, but I'm pretty happy with how it turned out. We've got these 5 tiers of farmland coming down the hillside there, meeting our path that's going to go from our home base over to the rest of the things we start building in the world. And I think that's going to look really good. So let's head over and pick up some seeds. I am definitely not going to have enough to seed this whole thing, but you know, that's how it goes. Probably will take 2 full harvests to get enough to fully plant the area. But then I think that's going to look really good with wheat coming down the mountainside there. I like the way farms look when they have depth, you know? That's one of the things that we've been talking about for buildings in our world, but it's true for more organic things as well. Having depth, having verticality, these are things that are important for farms just as much as they're important for things like our houses. So I actually had a decent number of seeds. Let's see. I wouldn't be surprised if we could get maybe 3 tiers of this filled in today. And this actually ended up working really well, tucking the water sources underneath these dirt blocks. You really can't see them from a distance unless you're looking really close. And then once this wheat grows, it'll be even more well hidden. And with these wheat farms, at a certain point, probably after 2, 3, 4 harvests, we're going to have all the wheat we need for the foreseeable future, even if we're breeding a lot of cows and sheep and things like that. So, we do one final replanting, and then you'd figure you would just let it grow and just look like a finished farm. So once that happens, you probably won't even be able to see the water at all anymore. It's a nice sound. Yeah, and I'm pretty happy with the size this farm turned out to be as well. So it looks like we're about half done. We've got 2 tiers left, and then half of this middle one here. Let me run back over to the bridge, and we'll take a look at that and watch it grow for a little bit. Yeah, that's going to look good. Yeah, farmland is just one of those things that it really, even if you're not using it to use the crops, having farms spread throughout your world really makes them feel more lived in. A farm this size is obviously going to support more than just one person living in this house over here. Maybe once we start working on the town and city over there in the valley, this would be the type of area where we would grow crops that we cart in to market to sell or something like that. So, we're farming for more than just subsistence. We're farming for, our primary income or something like that. So yeah, I'm happy with the wheat farm. Now let's take a look at the pumpkin patch. So over here, we've got a lot of pumpkins already. I'm going to go ahead and harvest all this wheat. And actually the seeds I get from this, I can also run back over and fill in our farm some more, but I'll do that off camera. Get a little bit of finished wheat here, not a ton. Yeah. And then I'll leave this farmland as farmland. Well, actually, what I'm going to do, I think, and I don't have a lot of dirt here. Let's see if I can get some more dirt. I'm going to fill in this water source. Let's just get our dirt from right here. Pumpkins, I seem to remember seeing in another Let's Play or reading somewhere that pumpkins don't actually need a water source for their crop once the stem is fully grown. I don't know if that's the case or not. If that is the case, great. If not, I'll just use some half slabs to cover up single water sources. So let me test that out. We'll find out together. Let me harvest all the pumpkins, but leave the stems. And then before new pumpkins grow, let me fill in all this water. Well, let's see if these wither up and die or if they stick around. Well, that one grew. I guess I can start working on some other stuff while we wait. Yeah, I've got this sugar cane here too, which I will want to make a sugar cane farm as well. I'm not sure if I'll do that today or on a future episode. It's not quite as urgent as, am I picking this up? No, I've got a full inventory. Let's get rid of that dirt. The sugar cane's not quite as urgent as the other things because I've already harvested a decent amount. I might actually already have enough. Because I've come through and I've picked this up 3 or 4 times. I might actually already have enough for the books I would need to start enchanting. The real shortness in that supply chain right now is getting the leather. So we'll try and find some cows for that. But I'm not too worried about the sugarcane situation. In fact, I can come over here and take a look. Because like 3 sugarcane is 1 piece of paper, 3 pieces of paper. Is that right? Or is it... How many sugarcane in a piece of paper? 3 sugarcane is 3 paper. So sugarcane is 1 paper. So 3 sugarcane is 1 book. So that's 21 books in a stack of sugarcane. And it's, I think, 3 books to a bookshelf, so that's 7 bookshelves per stack. So I'm only halfway there, but then if I harvest this like twice more, I'll have enough. So I'm not too stressed out about that. And it does indeed look like these pumpkin vines are sticking around. I don't see any having popped up just yet, and in fact they're still growing into pumpkins. Let me turn these pumpkins into pumpkin seeds. And then I'm just going to plant a few around. These ones, they might die. You know what, I'll actually... There's no reason not to have the water here until they're fully grown. It's not like I can't come back and terraform this a little more later. We'll leave that like that. Put some pumpkin seeds down. Till this land a little bit more. I know some of these are going to go away, and that's fine. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, I'm fine with that. Maybe even... Oh, and we're getting into nighttime, so I'm going to take a quick sleep. I am perfectly fine with just letting these grow and then kind of coming back and massaging the look of this a little bit later. The pumpkin patch isn't going to be quite as organized as a lot of different farms that you might see other places. I'll probably put a few broken cobblestone walls around it. Actually, I'll keep those because, like I said, I was going to go fill in the farm. Yeah, I'm going to let the pumpkin patch grow a bit. I'll come back to it later. What I want to do now, since we have a fresh day... actually, let me go ahead and plant these 3. 1, 2, 3. I'd like to try and find some cows and some sheep. So before we get started, I've got some spruce fence. I'm going to set up a temporary holding location for the cows and sheep. Long term, I would like to do kind of like a barnyard type area somewhere over here in the world. So let me show you what I'm talking about with that. We have our spruce forest that we've been spending most of our time in. But then when we get over here, I think this is a plains biome, but either way, it's a little bit more open, it's a little bit nicer. And I think, you know, in as much as the types of things we put in the spruce forest kind of go with that vibe, I feel like it would be a little bit weird to have a large gathering of cows and sheep in the forest. So I want to put them somewhere in the plains area. So what I can do with that, is that a sheep over there? Yeah. Thought it was a witch for a second, but it's just 2 sheep stacked up on top of each other. So the sheep part's going to be easy. And for now, I'm not going to make this as big as I would in the future. I'm just going to do a little temporary holding pattern for these sheep. And those will be bigger builds that we'll do together on camera. Maybe in their own episode later on, you know. But for the cows, like, I'd want to have a barn and a barnyard. And then I do want to do a cow crusher. So some of you might be familiar. There's a way to farm cows called an entity crusher, which it works for any animal that can be bred. But basically, if you have, I think it's 256 cows occupying the same square, they'll start dying and they'll give you their resources. And it's a good way to generate resources quickly. And I definitely want to build one of those, but I don't want it to be out in public. So I feel like what I'm going to do is I'm going to have kind of like a nice cow pen that is sort of public facing, where I'll just have like, I don't know, 20, 30 cows living happily. And then kind of like behind the scenes, the dark secret of the world is that there's like a cow crusher kind of hidden in the barn that, you know, you don't see, because I think it's a little bit sad. But it is a good way to generate resources. So we got 3 sheep here. That's great. Let's go ahead and breed them. I want to see if I can breed the white one and the gray one. What color baby is that going to give me? Ah, light gray. Because I want to have a bunch of white to start with. Because then I'll dye them and get a few different colors. But white is the color that I'm going to probably use the most for wool. But that's great. So we got some sheep. And they're in their little holding pen right now. And now we're going to look and see if we can find some cows. I believe there are some up in the forest, and if that's the case, we'll lead them down here and get them set up. But I do want to double check the plains area, because if they're already up here, it'll save us some time. Oh, we got ducks too. Chickens, I mean. And that's actually also something I want to get. So this is like a little bit strange. I'm kind of like bringing the pen to the animal almost. Let's see, we've got wheat seeds. I think that's what ducks like. Yeah, come on, buddy. There you go. Because this isn't going to be the long-term solution. You know, it's not going to be where these farms actually live forever. But I just want to make sure that I have like a kind of good baseline quantity of these animals. So let's get this duck in here. Chickens are actually one of... come on, buddy. Come on. Chickens are one of the easiest animals to get into a pen, even if you don't lead them where you want them to go, because you can always just get the eggs and just throw them. And I think it's, I don't know, 1 out of every 8 eggs or something like that hatches into a chick. I've got some eggs back at base, so we'll get more later there. I don't really need to worry too much about getting the chicken area set up. But in the first episode, or the second episode, I think, we did find a bunch of cows over here. So I want to see if we can get lucky again. And I don't want to forget to eat. So I touched on it briefly in a previous episode. Up here is kind of where I'm going to be building. Oh, and there's a cow. And there's some sheep. Up here is where I'm going to be building kind of a town. So we've got this kind of flat, gravelly area with mountains around the edges. And then this really cool mountain feature right here that I'm going to try and put a castle up on top of, but that's going to be way off in the future. But we've got the plains area and then the forest down there. And I kind of want the paths to sort of lead up here, up onto this plateau. And this is where we'll have our village, our town. And you know, that's down the road. That's at least probably 10 episodes into the future. But I'm really excited for the long-term potential of this area. And I'm really excited for what the world will look like. So, got some cows here. I'm debating if I want to try and actually lead them back into the field. I think I do. That might take a little while, so I'll pause and then pick up when I get them to the place that I want them. Alright, so it took me a full day and night cycle, but I got the cows back over to where the sheep are, which, you know, was a grand total of, I don't know, 150, 200 blocks. It took probably about 10 minutes real time. But they're here now, and they can have cow babies. Yeah. And I can have delicious milk. Yeah. I'll keep one of those on hand, actually. Now let's see, are these sheep ready to go again? Oh, and the little baby grew up. Yeah. Go. Cool. So these will start coming along. You know, I just wanted to get the cows going now because it's definitely one of those things that, we're going to need books. We're going to need to enchant things eventually. And I want to do a cow farm no matter what, but it's always good to start the breeding process now. I'm not going to go too crazy with it until we actually build that barn because I don't want to have to, you know, try and lead 200 cows. But of course I can always just kill off most of them and then move the new ones over. So I'm happy with that. Let's now head back over to where our farms were. We can check on the wheat and see how that's been growing. And check our pumpkin patch out too. Not much growth here at the pumpkin patch, just a little bit. That's fine. And then eventually, once these actually, I don't even need to wait until they grow because the pumpkins can just plop over on the area next to them. I'm gonna, oh, sorry, little sprout. Okay. But, like I don't want this to all be tilled soil. I just want it to be dirt. So I want to make sure the grass can actually spread to these places. But yeah, the pumpkins don't need tilled soil to grow into. They just need tilled soil for the stalk. Okay, I'm getting a little dizzy. I'll come back to that later. But yeah, this is just going to be a little pumpkin patch area. It's not even going to feel like a farm necessarily. It's going to feel more like a wild growth of pumpkins. And I probably planted too many, honestly. I'll probably thin this out a little bit once it grows in. But what I'm going to do in terms of the structure of the world is this path that's coming from our cemetery and our home base over that way. It's going to come up. It's going to come past these two farms. It's going to hit the pumpkin patch. And then whether it's here or here, I haven't decided yet. But I'm going to do a bridge across the river into that part of the world. So that'll be the main bridge connecting this area to that area. I'll probably do it somewhere right around here because the river's straight. So I want to take a straight shot that way. And then the path, it'll start turning into maybe a double wide path instead of the single wide that we've been doing here. And that the double wide path will carry on over to the sheep and the cows and the chickens. And then one of the projects that it's a little ways off still, but I'm excited about is somewhere over there where I have some nice terraced land. I want to do a vineyard. I've been playing around with some designs that use the wild berries as well as some of the leaf blocks. And I really like the way it looks. It's sort of like, if you've ever seen a vineyard, you kind of have these support structures that are like wooden lattices that the grapevines grow on. So I'm going to do like a bunch of rows of grapevines and then kind of like a main house, sort of the storage and production for the wine. Because I think that it's a nice, I think it's a nice type of thing that'll fit in with the aesthetic of our world, even though it's not actually producing anything. It'll be growing berries and it might be growing vines if I can find some vines to plant there as well, but it's not really going to be, a vineyard. It'll just look like one. So I think, just based on looking at the time, I think that's all we have time for today. But I'm really happy with the way these farms came out. Specifically the wheat farm, because I know I've wanted to do a terraced wheat farm for a while, and I think this is going to look really good in the world, and it's kind of also going to be a model for what our larger wheat farms might look like in the future. But it's a good source of food. It's going to be useful for breeding the cows, and it kind of gives some purpose to this area of the world. So very happy with how that turned out. And then getting the sheep and cows going, it's not exciting, but it's just one of those things that we needed to do eventually. So might as well get it going. And one thing I realized now that we have all those sheep over there is we actually don't need this guy anymore. I think he's just going to be a pet. I don't know where I'll put him, but he was our first sheep in this world that we kept, so don't worry, I'm not gonna slaughter you, little buddy. But we'll have to figure out what to do with him. But yeah, so I'm very happy with the way the world is looking. I'm glad to be back after a long hiatus. Hopefully I can get these out at a more regular pace going forward. But I think that's where I'm going to leave it today. So this has been Muddy Al Capones with your Minecraft Let's Play, and I look forward to seeing you all again soon.